Okay, hi, welcome to The Reading Rift. I'm Lydia, and I have a book addiction, and I'm married to a writer.
I'm Beck, I'm a writer, and we are sister-in-laws.
And today we get to interview KC Woodruff, the author of Hold the Book Up. Beck!
Oh my goodness, I have the book!
Dawn of the Darkest Day! One of my favorite reads of the year, so I'm super excited to talk to KC about this book.
Yes, and we're going to be getting into all things world building, publishing, into the book. Very excited.
And spoiler explanation for this episode, it's going to be split into two parts. Part one will be spoiler-free background information about KC, about her book, her writing journey, and then part two we will post in a separate episode, so there will be a very clear distinction of when the spoilers will start, because we don't want to ruin this book for you if you want to dive into this. I do want to preface that this is an adult podcast with adult content. The book has intense content too, so we'll link in the description. KC has a triggers list for you, warnings list for you to look at, so you can preface before you dive into this book. But highly recommend after you've read that list. Yeah.
And as always, we will be talking about it all explicitly here and cursing and all of the above. So you've been warned for both episodes.
Okay, without further ado, let's get into our talk with KC Woodruff. Okay. So we want to background information on you as a writer and a reader. Have you always been a fan of reading?
Oh, yes.
Okay, what would you say are the books that shaped your love of reading, like from your childhood?
I mean, when I was like really little, I was, devouring all like the Magic Tree House books, stuff like that.
It's always the one I bring up.
Yeah.
Oh,
those
yeah.
are the best.
That's what we're trying to get my daughter into right now. She's 6. When I got older, by older, I mean like into my early teens, Brandon Sanderson only had 2 books out at the time, and I would just read those back to back, Mistborn, Elantris.
I've been trying to get her to read her Elantris. She's only read Mistborn.
I read Warbreaker too, but yeah.
I love those.
Would you say those, like Magic Tree House, what other book shaped your like love for reading?
For like maybe more like closer to adulthood, like what is more of an inspiration for what you draw for your own stuff?
So when I pretty much stopped reading for pleasure from like high school through college because I was so busy. So it was all just what I was getting assigned in school, and then academic reading all through college, beginning of grad school, dropped out of grad school, and then my husband went to BYU with me, and he took Brandon Sanderson's writing class, and I had pretty much like sworn off Sanderson a little bit because for like spoilery reasons about Mistborn that we won't get into. I thought we would be seeing more of a certain character who, if you know, you know.
Do I know?
Do you? What book was it?
Well, so I had read Mistborn, loved it.
Okay.
The ending shocked me. And then in book 2, I was like, well, the ending, that can't be
so then
real.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, so she doesn't know. I was just because she's only read book 1 of Mistborn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we know the ending of, we both
You were
know
mad. You were mad at Sanderson.
Yeah, so once I realized in book 2 that the way I hoped things would go were, I was like, you know what? I'm never going to read anything you read again.
Rage quitting Mistborn's wild. But yeah, understandable.
I mean, I was like 13, 14, but once my husband got into his class, I was like, okay, I've matured. Let's get back into it. So I read Way of Kings and was just blown away. Like the best thing I had read in my life in years. It was only out through Oathbringer at the time. So then I was like, hey, my vendetta's over. And then I just went back and read everything he had. And then I got into V.E. Schwab, Darker Shades of Magic, Joe Abercrombie, ACOTAR, and I've just been a mood reader ever since.
Yeah, mood reader.
Those are all great books.
I get that when reading this book.
And everyone that watches this knows that Stormlight Archive is my favorite series of all time. So like that is a good one to get back into.
Mm-hmm.
We named our son Kaladin.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is how much
I
we love
learned
That is amazing.
on a Sanderson, like one of his videos that he does, where he said enough people named their children Kaladin that it was like 1%. Like when they do the list of baby names,
Yeah,
it's like Kaladin made it on the list because
That is so
he was
epic.
like,
Yes.
I made Kaladin so important.
Yeah, I believe it. It's just such a good name.
Would you say that Sanderson is like an author, writer, idol that you have, someone you look up to?
Yeah.
And do you have others?
I will say he, like Brandon Sanderson, is my author idol, where everything he writes, he knocks it out of the park every single time. But other authors that I have really feel like I've learned so much craft from have been Carissa Broadbent, James S.A. Corey, who wrote The Expanse, V.E. Schwab, Darker Shades of Magic, Joe Abercrombie, all the ones I listed before.
Yeah, books you like, yeah.
It's kind of like when you get into books and you start reading that author regularly, it's kind of easy to be like, I love that author. Because I feel the exact same way about Sanderson. Everything he writes could do no wrong, which is probably not the way I should be looking at it, but...
Sorry, I forgot.
Who?
Tamsin is my other idol. Full on, I am not ashamed to say how obsessed I am with her.
So did you grow up in a reading household, or did you kind of discover books and authors on your own?
Total reading household. My mom is an English teacher, and so she was reading to us from as early as I can remember. And then we just all were swapping books back and forth. To this day, we got my dad into Sanderson. He recommends books to us now. My parents have read my books, which was rough.
Well, I read your book.
That one to parents.
Okay, so was there a teacher or a librarian or someone in school that kind of you looked up to or kind of inspired you that maybe you could be good at writing?
There were two. And I don't want this first one to sound like a flex because it's not. It's just real.
Okay.
Emily Sanderson was my teacher in middle school.
Oh,
That's kind of hard not to be a little flex.
Which
small world, but yeah.
and she was the one who I loved reading, but she was the one who introduced me to fantasy specifically, because her husband
her husband is arguably the top of that genre.
Yeah.
So.
And at the time, he was not very well known at all, but it was still, I was like, wow, I love fantasy now, not just, I mean, I guess Magic Tree has its fantasy, but
yeah, but it's not the epic fantasy that you get into like Sanderson.
Yeah.
So
yeah, epic fantasy for sure. And then in college, actually, I took a course. It was just one of my required courses for my major, and we had to, whenever we read from our textbooks, we had to turn in things called gems, which was just 2 thoughts that we had about the material. And this was family studies, so I don't know. It was just kind of what's your take on this? What's an insight you have about this? And in order for that not to be the most boring thing in the world for me, I just wrote as I would, with my voice instead of, because it wasn't it's graded based on if you do it or not, not how well done it is. So I was I'm just going to write this in my voice. And he chose mine. He would choose a handful to read to the class, and he chose mine all the time because he just loved the voice coming out of it. And after I graduated, I wound up having dinner at his house a year later because we had run into each other. And he was to this day, I remember your gems so well. I think you would be such a good writer. And I was in a point where I was like trying to figure out what to do, because I had just come back from like leaving grad school, and I was like, writing, huh? Like, that's actually very validating. So
That's really
It is.
cool.
That's like such a pat on the back as a writer. Because I had a teacher kind of do that to me, like when I was a little younger. And it wasn't like phenomenal or like monumental or anything, but it was like definitely a moment in my life where I was like, so I understand.
yeah, exactly.
And it was funny because it wasn't your English teacher. It was just like a completely random other person, which kind of makes it more validating, because it was like, you weren't grading me on my writing. You just liked it, which is even better. It was like not even supposed to be good.
Yeah.
So what did you do any writing when you were younger, or was kind of college when you first started?
I did do writing when I was younger, like 12 years old. I wrote like 2 books that are on a lost flash drive somewhere.
Oh.
I don't even remember hardly what they were about, other than fantasy. They had magic. But I wanted to be like the Hannah Montana of the author world, where I would like go to school and then like wear a wig and go on tour, basically.
School student by day, epic teenage writer by night.
That's honestly so valid. So was it around college or before that or after? When did you realize like writing was more than a hobby and you wanted to do something more with it?
So around the time that I stopped like reading for pleasure and was getting back into, busy with school and stuff, I didn't creatively write. I blogged all through high school, which, is its own form of writing, academic writing all through college. And then I thought I would be the cringiest writer ever. And so I didn't even allow myself to consider it until COVID, and all of our D&D campaigns got like halted. And I was like, but I need to continue these stories. And so I remember my husband and I were like in the process of buying a house, and we were in the parking lot at the bank about to go sign our loan or whatever. And I was like, I have to write a book. Please don't laugh at me. And he was like, I have been telling you to write a book 4 years.
Isn't that how it always is? Where like someone that really cares about you and supports you, they're like, well, duh, like, I've been telling you that for forever. Yes, I'm gonna, like, why would I laugh at you? But, like, it's a thought in our head where it's just like,
totally.
Yeah.
But saying it was important for me, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who was he the first person that you told?
Yes.
That you were like, I'm gonna write a book? And it sounds like he was supportive of that.
Has been my number one most supportive fan from the beginning.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Having that such close support. So, but like with the support, did you have anyone or yourself doubt it? And then like, how did you handle that?
I have doubted myself so much along the way. I am my biggest doubter. Actually, there might be others, but I don't know that they haven't told me.
Is that 2-star review?
I did the 2-star review myself.
But as I have like continued writing and found other writers, they continually hold me up and revalidate this desire I have to write.
That's actually so awesome. Not only do you have such close support, but like you also have other authors supporting you, and like that is just amazing.
Yeah.
Beats the self-doubt.
It really helps, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you were active in D&D, and then COVID stopped, and so then you were like, because I've done one time I played D&D with my brother, and it was so fun because I did like theater in like growing up, and then like all of a sudden, when you become an adult and you like stop doing creative things, like you're focused on, like I was majoring in biochemistry, and then he was like, do you want to do this D&D campaign with me and my friends? And I was like, sure, I'll do it, to be like supportive, like sibling bonding. But then he was like, okay, you're gonna create a character, you're gonna do all these things, you're gonna create a story. And I was like, wait, this is actually so fun. So how would you say that the D&D played into your exploration of like, I guess, refining your writing and giving your writing more, like how do you go from a D&D plot to like a book?
For sure. So I the characters in this book are our D&D characters. Aura was the first character I ever created. Stead was my husband's character that he created for his the campaign that he asked me to do with him. Ember was the second character I created, and that is really it for book 1. Savant was a villain. So was Talia.
Yeah.
Genocide is that deep, Lydia.
No spoilers, but yeah. Okay. Sorry.
And he was largely Aura's backstory, but he showed up once in a campaign, so we did make stats for him and everything. And
Oh, that's so funny.
I don't know where his stat sheet is, though I know where Talia's is. I screenshotted it.
Okay.
Gonna more about her in the next episode.
Yeah, look for part 2 for I Thought Someone. Talia. Okay.
What was your biggest, like, I can actually write this book and do it and become an author moment?
So when I set out to write the book, I didn't set out to publish it. My goal was just to write it well enough that I could share it with anyone and share it confidently, be proud of it, and not be like, people are reading this and just so like embarrassed on my behalf, basically. Which I am mortified when people I know read this for other reasons now.
Okay, you're like, I know it's written well, but
It's a good story, great writing, but
it's heavy.
It is.
yeah.
And so once I got it to the point where I felt like there was nothing more I could do, but I knew it wasn't finished, I knew I needed to find critique partners and beta readers. And I went through a couple groups just because they very often like fade out, and hit the jackpot with a group that is still going to this day. We all became very good friends. And when I wound up submitting my manuscript to them for critique, their reactions to it being like, I couldn't put this down. This isn't my normal genre, but they finished the whole thing. And all the discussions that started cropping up in our group over, who's good, who's evil, do I like this character, do I not? Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, I could go wider than just, whoever I know wants to read it because they've asked. I could publish this, and other people would have a good experience with it.
Oh, for sure. I definitely did. I actually finished the book in 2 settings. Like the first one, I had to stop because I was busy or something. But the next time I was like, I'm finishing this book right now.
Yeah, I stayed up so late. I remember, so I started the book and I was like, I'm not going to really get into it because it's just the beginning of the book. And then fast forward to like 2 a.m. I'm like, I have to go to bed. My kids are going to wake me up at 6:30 in the morning. And I remember I had the book on the ground next to the bed, and I just was like, oh, but I just got one more chapter. And so I would turn my flashlight on, and like it was like on the floor, and I was like reading it laying on the bed, and then I was like, okay, go back to sleep. But I just can't. Then I stayed up so late. It was so good.
Yeah, incredible.
But was this, besides the mystery books you wrote when you were a child that or have vanished, was this the first full book that you had written?
Yes.
How long did it take you to write this book?
Let me see. I started in August of 2020. August of 2020, and then I published in August of 23. So.
Oh, wow.
So it took me 3 years.
Do you think that you learned a lot from the first time around, so that when we're waiting for book 2, it won't be as long as 3 years? Or do you think 3 years is a good estimation?
I have been writing book 2 since mid-22. It has taken me a lot longer. It is a longer book, so it's about a third longer than book 1 currently. So book 1 is 200,000 words. Book 3 is sitting at a little over 300.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
a hefty book.
awesome.
I personally love those books. So.
Yeah, I love a bigger book. And we'll talk about more about publishing because I'm sure you've looked into self-publishing versus traditional publishing and like the word count game and like the game of the traditional publishing. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But
okay, so yeah, what was the revision process like then? So you started in 2020 and then you wrote it in the revision process. What was that like for you?
It was lengthy, but for good reason, because like I said, this was my first novel in adulthood, and I've had to level up my craft to what the books need as I've been writing them. Which is not the route I would recommend, but that is how it has happened for me. And so it wound up being, my first draft for book one only took 7 months. But then the revision took a 1.5 years until it was ready for like beta readers. I was pregnant during that time though. And my pregnancies are like, I'm sick the whole pregnancy.
I understand that, yeah.
And so that has luckily not been the case for book two. So my revisions for it will go faster. But then from after my critique partners, and that revision process was my husband going through it, my critique partners going through it, an enormous developmental edit where I basically rewrote it from scratch. And then another round after beta readers to make sure I got everything right from them, copy edits, line edits, all that good stuff.
Do you have like an editor that you work with, or do you line edit and edit it yourself?
So book one's developmental edit was basically through my critique partners, because all the craft I know that I didn't learn from reading or like listening to podcasts, I've learned from them. They're all brilliant writers, and also I'm poor. And so
it is so expensive, yes.
That is actually exactly where I am. It's like I have this book, but I'm not paying an editor.
Yeah, I definitely recommend everyone get at least like some level of other eyes editor on it, like not self-edits all the way through, because you'll just get tunnel vision and there's things you'll miss. But I largely did line edits myself. My mom is, like I said, English teacher, has also been an editor for her whole life. And so she did my copy edits.
Hopefully you utilize that skill.
It's amazing just having that in the back.
Because we did like line editing for my husband's draft of one of his books. And we swore I would do a review, she would do a review, and then my husband would read it and he was like, you guys missed this. And I'm like, how did we miss
We've also read the book like 20 times.
And we're like with tunnel vision, we've read it so many times that like we were just missing things. So then we had to send it to help with somebody else, because you're right, you just like, you miss it and you got to have more eyes on it. What part of writing do you naturally excel at? Would you say you naturally excel at plotting, character building, the dialogue, the world building? And then what part is like kind of what you struggle with?
Well, I'll start with what I struggle with. I'm terrible with descriptions, like so terrible. I went through book one recently to create like a Bible so that I could make continuity for book two. And there were characters in there who I realized had zero descriptions. You did not know what they looked like.
I think I just imagined everyone at some point, so it was like, even if you described them or not, they were like living.
I've already said it, so in my head. You may think that about like describing like characters and like how the world looks like, but I think you did really good jobs at describing like internal thoughts of characters. That was like, I would say that's something you really excelled at.
Yeah.
But
yes.
What are your thoughts on what you excel at?
So character development, I think I have a knack for. I love writing dialogue. Anything character related, I just love that.
I can see like where it's like awkward to like compliment yourself as well. It's like, I'm really good at this. But so I will just say, reading the book, I will say one of my favorite things when I read any book, right, is like you said, kind of the inner dialogue of a character and their view on the world and like what they're going through. like, I don't even know if I was 20% into the book and I was already like, this is excellent. Like, reactions as characters, inner dialogue, the characters felt like very human. So I will say you did very well there. Because I don't read books all the time where it's like, I feel like the character is actually a person. I just feel like they're kind of reactive.
Yes.
But in this book, I will say they all felt human. So
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that's part of what makes this book so heavy is it's like some of the internal dialogue, especially of Aura, of like the things that happen to her and that she goes through, the internal dialogue was heavy because it felt so real.
Yeah, it was
like, that's definitely what people think when these things happen. And so it was like, she's not just existing in this situation. It was like a person going through this thing probably feels like this. So yeah, couldn't put it down. That's for sure.
I'm just going to compliment you again because without spoilers, and we'll get into this in the next episode, later on in the second half of the book, I just felt you handled very heavy topics so well. Because I was wondering how that was going to go. Like, all these things are brought up. I'm like, where is this going? Because I was kind of scared that it was going to go somewhere that I was going to be like, I don't like that. But when I read it, I would just say it was phenomenal. Like, I was actually like, okay, I trust this author now. So,
Thank you.
And I asked it.
you're fine. I do that all the time.
And another thing is, I feel like all of your characters are complex, like good, bad, more like in the middle, gray. Everything is just like so deep. It's not just easy to just assume things about every character, which I think adds a level of maturity to the book.
Yes.
Because it's not just this person is this and this person is that. It's not like Harry Potter where you know who the bad guy is from the beginning. But so anyways, I really love that.
You actually came here just to get complimented.
Yeah. Okay. But how long did it take you before you felt ready to share the story? It sounds like you started in 2020, published in 23. So it sounds like about 3 years before when you started to like, okay, this is ready to share. And then did you have to like force yourself to just click like the submit button, the publish button, or like what was the process in your head for, okay, I wrote in the book, it's been revised, now it's time to actually get it to people?
For sure. So seeing my critique partners' reactions to it was what flipped the switch of like, I'm ready to publish and I'm not afraid to publish. And I think this is like a gift and a curse in a lot of ways, because once that switch flips, there is nothing else but wanting to get it into people's hands, and that fear is gone, and it feels like a race to just get it out there as fast as you can. And I think there are authors out there who are good at slowing down and saying, let's go about this in such a way that I can get it into as many hands as possible. Whereas I was just flying by the seat of my pants. But I queried for a little bit and was very like set on traditional publishing, because I knew that self-publishing was a lot of work and I didn't know anything about it. And once I had an agent tell me the book was 190, maybe like the book was 180 when I was querying it. And I had an agent tell me I'm not even allowed to submit books longer than 130,000 words to editors, and you are going to have a hard time finding an agent who is. I was like, okay, I have to make a choice. I can either split the book in half and basically, make it be 2 stories and try querying again, or I can self-publish. And I had written it using 3-act structure. I would have to have ended it at the end of part 2, and that would have been a terrible ending.
That cliffhanger would have been crazy.
Yes.
Ending it on that part would have been wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like the integrity of the story as I had outlined it and how I wanted to tell it was just more important. And so I was like, okay.
Decision made
for me. It's always nice when something else makes
that kind of goes into the next question, which is, I'm going to kind of reword it because you kind of already answered, but was the word count the biggest between self-publishing and traditional choice that you had when you looked at them and be like, I am not going to get rid of what I put into the book?
Yeah, 100%. Looking back, I think I would have been asked to substantially rewrite a lot of things as well and take out a lot of things, and that would have also been tough. And so it was the right decision. But word count was the biggest one. It's the same length as Mistborn, which most people don't realize. But
that's because Mistborn was published before all the rules. Yes. Like the traditional marketing game is, these are the rules that you have to play by. Because my husband's in the querying process right now for one of his books, and he has a book that's 180, and that's exactly the same issue as the editors and people that have looked at it have said, the book's great, but it has to be 120. And he's like, it can't be 120. Like if you read the book, you'll be like, what do I take out?
Exactly.
It will change the book. And thinking about after reading this book, like I didn't know it was that long because I just breezed through it. But like to think of anything being taken out, and I love the way the parts were set up. I don't know if you've read Alchemized, but it's kind of a very dark, similar. It's like the 3-part system, similar to what your book is.
Yeah.
And that book is like 1,024 pages or whatever. So she was like, the author was like a one-off of, that's a first book like this, but she had the background of like her fan fiction stuff. But if they had said, you got to publish it differently, I would have been so sad because I loved the effect that the way she set it up gave. So the way that you set up the book gave a really good effect that the reader needs. So,
and you look at this book and think, okay, around 80,000 words have to be taken out. Where?
The other thing I considered was entirely removing Stead's point of view.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been. I really actually enjoyed Stead's point of view, and again, we'll get into that episode 2. But it's kind of like, it was a takeaway from the story that was kind of like visually reading this and imagining it. I really enjoyed those chapters because it was like, okay, this is opening the world, opening the characters. It's not just focused on this narrowed in thing. So if you had done that, you stayed by what you wanted. This was the integrity of the story. This is the story you're telling. You didn't take that out and you didn't give in. And I just want to say that is amazing. I applaud
Thank you.
What misconceptions did you have about publishing before you like went into it? So what did you think it was going to be like? And then what have you learned that is not the case?
I mean, I thought it was going to be a lot easier, honestly.
Oh, that's such a great thing to hear.
Like, I thought, when querying was just not going well, one of my critique partners was like, I am always planning on self-publishing. I know people who do it very successfully. Another one of our critique partners who came in while I was, like in the middle of revisions, had self-published and just had it down to a science. And I was like, great, here's 2 people telling me that it's possible. That it's possible. And I thought the hardest things would be, knowing how to upload files to Ingram Spark and knowing how to format the book or whatever. But really, like, it's starting a business, and I don't have an MBA. And all the strategies, it's like there's like a wealth of knowledge, and I have only dipped my toes in, and it's tough.
Okay, I want to know like specifics about self-publishing, because a lot of indie authors that I've talked to when they self-publish, they go through KDP or like the Amazon program where they'll like print the book kind of like on demand or whatever. But I want to know your thoughts, or like what have you looked into? Because your book, the quality, do you go through KDP?
Or? I go through both.
Okay.
I print hardcovers through Ingram Spark because Amazon doesn't do dust jackets. And then I print paperbacks through Ingram Spark or KDP, depending on if I'm a gambling woman that day. This quality with Amazon is very hit and miss.
That's what I've experienced. And I feel like so I have the hardcover, so that must have been the other company that I thought it was very great quality.
Thank you.
Is it like more expensive than to do the Amazon way? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
like
Ingram Spark
definitely
is definitely, so if you want to get into like the
I do want the details. I do.
It's not trim size. They base the book like cost on its page count. And so that's the largest trim size hardcover you can get. I guess I should say out loud, it's like 6.1 by 9.2 or something like that. And then the case design adds on an extra like $7 or something per copy. But those were, really important elements to me. I was like, worked damn hard on this. Like I want that
I think
exterior
the quality of the book does add to the reader experience.
for sure.
So, yeah.
I mean, I would just say when this book was put in my hand, like looking at this, but then like I took the sleeve off because I don't read with sleeves. I was like, this book is beautiful.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my
Extra
goodness.
$7.
Yeah. Oh, I always love these questions. What was the most challenging and then the most rewarding moments of this entire process?
Oh man. I will say the most challenging thing was I didn't because I had gone into it, just basically my goal was to feel proud of it. I had very thick skin when it came to everything else. So negative reviews didn't bother me. The 0-page read days on Kindle didn't bother me. Not seeing it blow up or whatever didn't bother me because I was just in it for the ride. And I was so validated by the fact that even though it was my debut, even though it is super dark, it seemed to be just about universally loved, other than a small subset of people who have basically the same. It's all the same thing people don't like, which you can probably guess. And so I felt so confident about it that I submitted it to a popular fantasy contest. And I had written it for specifically fantasy readers. And my meanest review to date came from that competition, where I got ousted in the first round by someone who DNF'd it midway through because of reasons you can guess, but beyond that, I won't say what they said, but it was my first wake-up call that I had written a book for an audience that didn't want it. And that was gutting. And I didn't write for 6 months after that because I felt like I had failed. I had the worst writer's block. I didn't even know where to pick up. I went back to school to try and learn software engineering so that I could have a career, because I was I don't think I can have a career in writing. And it wasn't until Dragon Seal last year that I met someone who was very aware of that competition, and he was like, oh, that happens to everyone. Every review that comes out of that is the meanest review that person has ever received. But he basically was like, what you experience is not unique. That is the number one thing to come out of that competition. And so the fact that you're here selling books already tells me that you have overcome that. And I was like, okay.
Did you start crying?
Basically, Yeah, I did. We were like in the car, like driving to go get dinner, and I was like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that was day 1, I think. And I was like, okay, time to sell some books. So I went home and or not home, but I went back to our condo, and I stayed up almost the whole night, like rereading my book and falling back in love with it. And then the next 2 days, I was just like, okay, I'm an author again. And after that, so that was last year, I sat down and wrote every day until I finished book 2.
That's amazing, because it sounds like you had your most challenging led to your most rewarding, because it was just kind of like
you did a book thing where you hit rock bottom and then you can only go up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, kind of what you mentioned about Nexus kind of goes into the next thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about as a self-published author, what have been your most successful methods for finding readers, getting your book into people's hands? I know you went to Nexus Dragonsteel this year, and you've been there before, and we met you at an author event. So is that your main method of how you get books out, or what has been your best success for finding readers for your book? Author events have been the biggest one. It's weird though, because I get a lot of books out. Like year by year, most of my sales come from author events, hands down. I never know if people actually read them though. You guys were one of the first to actually say, I got your book from this event and I loved it. It's true. We get buying frenzy when you go to author events. You're like, oh, I want to buy this author's book. I want to buy this author's book. And then they go on the shelf.
Really though, what has been the most like consistent way is having other people talk about it online. So TikTokers picking it up and recommending it and their videos going viral, or getting a lot of people talking about it all at once and then it's snowballing from there, which is way easier said than done. But
yeah. Well, I don't know if you've heard of Quicksilver. Callie Hart talked about in a podcast of how she got Quicksilver out because it was traditionally published. That was self-published at first, and then she just sent it out to famous influencers, and she was like, "If you read it, that's great. Here's a free copy signed, blah blah blah." And then all of a sudden, these influencers were talking about her book, and then it snowballed, and then it just like became one of the most popular romantic-y books in the past few years. Yeah. So it is kind of like, how do you get that to happen to this specific book? You know, it's kind of like, is it random? I don't know.
A lot of marketing.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah.
Going off of like the snowball and like people liking it and it kind of just going from there, I want to know your experiences and thoughts and knowledge that you've learned about audiobooks, because obviously that's expensive. But my question is what do you know? Because I have so many people that I want to read this book, but they are only audiobook listeners. And I'm like,
she's been mentioned enough on this podcast. It's our sister-in-law that she's
and my husband.
Him too, but like, I was just talking to our sister-in-law today, and this is one of Lydia's like most excited questions to ask is how do we get this
book to be an audiobook? How do we get you an audiobook? Because it's so good.
Thank you. It is going to have to be a Kickstarter because it is so long. There's no way I can pay for it out of pocket. I'm not going to go through Amazon because they do have a royalty share option that is cheaper, but then you can't publish it on any other platform. Similar to Kindle Unlimited, but I can still sell physical copies of my book. But with audio, I don't want it exclusive to Audible. And
okay, this is something I didn't know about. So Amazon will, like, they have like a narrator that records it, or it's like an AI, or like...
No, I would never.
Yeah.
Ever use it.
If you told me Amazon did AI right now, I'd be like...
I just was like, I didn't know that they did like a royalty thing for audiobooks too. I thought it was just for the books.
So their royalty share is where narrators, human narrators, can apply to narrate your book. So you put it up on ACX is what it's called, and say, I'm looking for narrators. and then narrators will submit their auditions, and then you can select a narrator from there.
Okay.
And royalty share makes it significantly less per finished hour is what it's called. But then, you're sharing your royalties, which also then it's kind of a gamble for the narrator. Is this book going to sell very much? Or did I basically just record this for free?
Right. Did I just record 200,000 words for nothing?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have several friends who are narrators. I've talked to them about this so much. They've guessed that my book would be about 22 to 24 hours. And everyone is of a different mind of if it should be duet style narration or dual, where it's switches chapter by chapter instead of character by character. I would love if it. Do you want to hear what I'm saying? I personally would like for it to switch character by character. I think if someone dropped $1 million in my lap, I would have there be 3 narrators. One for Stead, one for Ara, and one for Savant.
Also, yes.
Yes. I think it's safe to say that if you ever do a Kickstarter or anything like that, the Reading Rift is here to support you.
Yeah,
I personally would even I would blow it up as much as I could too. So please reach out to us if you need any kind of support.
Yeah, literally, I read about this book and I'm like, let me guess, you only read Audible. Great,
Yeah.
I can tell you all the spoilers now because you're never going to read it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see you be able to advance to that, because I think when you said you wrote this book for a fantasy and that people in your genre didn't like it, there is such a reader genre group for dark fantasy books like this.
Yes.
And I'm one of those, our sister-in-law's one of those, and it's just you just got to find that group, get it to them, and then it'll go from there. So I'm trying.
Even as a reader who came from epic fantasy background, so Sanderson was up there, but Tolkien was my number one for most of my childhood. So coming from epic fantasy and zero romance or other perspectives, reading this book was this is kind of where I saw myself going with reading. So all that epic fantasy, and then you read this and it's that fits there to me. It does. And so there is those to me, it's probably a massive group even that just maybe never heard of the book, because to me, this is something I would pick up having read the Silmarillion, because it's kind of wild to go from that to this, because they are very different. But I'm oh yeah, no, this works. This makes sense to me. So
I mean, I am an epic fantasy reader, so that was where my heart went when writing the book. Generally, people who are more traditional fantasy say it has too much romance. And then
that is a thing. I can see that, but this is where I'm these kind of coexist, because I don't think you have to focus on the romance here, which is why I really, really enjoyed this book, because there's also the individual character who I loved. So it's I think
this book. Okay, so when I talk about books, sometimes I talk about there's tropey books that were I love an enemies to lovers. I love a good trope. Okay,
Fourth Wing.
I love Fourth Wing. I love Avatar. I love Turn of Glass. I love a trope. Okay, but there's a different type of book where it's it's in a genre, but it's not there's no tropes in it. There's enemies in this book, but it's not. I wouldn't ever say it's enemies to lovers. I would say it's more it's more literature. It's not it's not I'm getting this out there to go along with the game of this is what people want. It's this is a book with a plot, with a story. There is romance in it, but it's not only a romance book, because the world building, especially after what you're setting up for the next book, I feel book 1, we saw only a sliver of the world building that we are going to see in book 2.
Yes.
So
but I did think you captivated that within the book. You saw that. You saw that this was going somewhere.
Right.
This wasn't just this is as much as I have, that's where we're going to stop. You saw that there's more.
Yeah. No, I have the 4 books outlined. So I know how it ends.
Oh, I bet this sits with you.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, good question. What advice would you give an author deciding between traditional and indie?
That is a really good question. I would say both are going to be equal amounts of work. And it comes down to how much control do you want? And also what kind of work is going to feel the least like chewing glass. So some people, the amount of rejection that comes with querying, that might be too much for them. And it will be easier for them or more palatable to go through having to commission everything yourself, having to, like, you have to market yourself a ton either way. Mm-hmm. But having, like, if querying is less palatable in terms of that kind of rejection or how long it could take, then self-publishing, where you can choose the artwork, you can choose when you publish. If you want to publish faster, like if you want to capitalize on rapid release strategies, self-publishing would be your way to go. It really just boils down to like what marketing method is something you feel like you could would enjoy, mm-hmm. and then do that.
I think you're convincing me to self-publish.
Yeah. What do you wish your readers understood about supporting authors?
I wish readers could understand the power of talking about books. And I know the algorithm doesn't like talking about smaller books, but the more word of mouth recommendations you give, the better chance those smaller books have to snowball. Or, I mean, even just keep an author going when they're not getting, multiple days or weeks in a row of like 0-page reads because thinking that no one is reading your book just puts a huge damper on your creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we all have that. I know I do, because I've mentioned that I wrote a book, but I have stuff to get published still. But I have this dream in my head, like where I want it to be. And not necessarily I want it to be like the hugest, biggest thing ever. I just I want people to appreciate it. I want people like to make a little artwork for themselves. Like I want to see that it like people appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I can understand like going with the, like you've given your heart out and it's like, okay, do y'all like it? Do you appreciate it? Something?
Yeah.
And you don't get anything. So I can see how that's like very kind of like, oh, well, that's my heart and soul, guys. Thank you. But no, I think it's everything you've said. I'm very like impressed by your fortitude to like keep going. So I imagine you're like, I don't have any of that. I don't know what you're
talking about. What is your long-term like goal or vision for yourself as a writer? Like in 5 years, 10 years, what would be your like, that is what I want to happen for myself?
I would love to, I have my pipe dreams and then my like more realistic dreams.
We love pipe dreams.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. When I want to finish the series, and I have so many like spin-off ideas for it. So I feel like I'm always going to be writing in this world because it is kind of like my origin. But after this series, I would love to write something easier to market. Just like a duology that's less commitment on my end. My pipe dream is I would love to like retire my husband with my writing and let us just be a writing family, or I would say retire my parents, but they are just going to retire next year. So
let's get this book going, you guys. We gotta meet the deadline next year.
10 months.
Yeah. Okay. Why do you write? Like, why do you keep writing?
I find so much joy from it, and it gives me so much purpose, because being a mom is like rewarding in its own ways, but it's very much like the reward comes from what you're doing for other people. And it's hard to find something that you're doing for yourself and a purpose in your life that is unique to you, and writing fills that void for me. I also just need somewhere to put the thoughts.
Same.
Relatable. Okay, so now we're going to dive in to talk about your book. This is where we're going to kind of maybe try to market it, try to get some information out there for people that might not have read your book or might not know about you, okay? So here's going to be some questions to go back to thinking about your book now, okay? Go ahead, Beck. Take us away.
What is the elevator pitch for your book?
So the one I used at Nexus over the weekend was, it's a darker, spicier warbreaker where instead of marrying the nice God King, she marries the Lord Ruler.
That is actually so good.
That is so good because I've read Warbreaker and I love the God King.
Oh my goodness.
And also I've read Mistborn and I secretly wanted the...
Oh my goodness, though. That's like such a good comparison. I didn't think about that Warbreaker, but with like the Lord Ruler.
Oh, so good. I probably sold at Nexus, hopefully.
Yeah, that really.
How would you say no to that book at Nexus? That's the market audience for that. That's great. Okay, there's one you gave us when we were at LAG about...
I can do that one.
Do that one too.
Okay. The descendant of a goddess forced into marriage with the tyrant God King, who bargains for her freedom by promising him an heir, which makes enemies with benefits since they have to make the heir. And it's dual POV with the other POV, her ex-fiance, trying to rescue her.
Yeah.
That is wild, because like I don't think that captivate how much dark this book is. But it's so good.
Okay, if readers enjoy these 3 books, they will enjoy your book.
I would say if you enjoy... So Alchemize is one that I would say if you are okay with a story that is thematically and content-wise that dark. Play the Prisoner series, if you really like character development in an FMC, and then Mistborn if you want, or Warbreaker, any of Sanderson's books if you want more epic scale world building with characters that feel like real people.
I will just add to it because like I felt this. This might be a wild take because I already mentioned it, but the Silmarillion, people that like enjoy high fantasy like that, but you also enjoy romance, I think they would enjoy this book. I will say for the readers of Sanderson, this book has that emotional character attachment that Sanderson has, which is crazy because I know you don't feel that for Sanderson. She's like, it's so emotionalist, but I do. Sanderson has like these deep, and definitely in the Stormlight Archive, and I feel like this book also captivates that. So I feel like if you're looking for that as a reader, this book is there for you. So I'm just adding to that.
Okay.
What emotional experience do you want readers to walk away with?
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I can tell you my emotional experience. My emotional experience was
chaotic.
I Need Therapy, which is, we did a book award.
Oh yeah, we did.
We did award ranking for the books we read this year, and we both ranked this book with I Need Therapy after reading this book.
Actually, it's kind of funny because we picked the books up when we put them on, and you put a different one first, but you looked at it and you're like,
no, you're right. I need a therapy after this book. So what are you like wanting your readers to take away?
I do want readers to get to the end of the book and just stare at a wall.
Well, you worked.
Okay. Going off of that, what type of reader is not for your book?
Children.
Okay. Yes.
If you are a minor, leave.
That's the amount of people at Dragon Still to be like, okay, next booth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I mean, obviously, if you don't like spice, not for you. If you have a lot of triggers, not for you. If you want something lighthearted, not for you.
This book.
And if you want a short read, not for you.
Yeah. When I recommend this book to people, I say, I need you to read this book because I need someone to talk to it about, but read the trigger warnings list. First, if you've passed that list, then read this book, please.
She actually handed me the trigger list like the other night or something right before I read this book, and I was just like, okay.
Like, sign me up.
Yeah, I was like excited to read the book. I was like, where is this going?
What theme or experience from your real life made its way into your characters from the book?
I write pieces of myself into all of my characters. I never try and make one character too much like me, because my characters are so hateable that
I hate this character. Oh.
Well, and this is a very common pitfall of publishing, is that people write characters who they see themselves in, and then the negative reviews make it feel like a personal attack. And I never ever want to experience that. So I don't get offended when people say they hate Ara. I get offended if people say they hate Alice, because it's more of like so you hate fun?
Yeah, and you hate a good person? Okay.
Living her life. And
Alice, for example, though, I put my imposter syndrome into her. She has raging imposter syndrome, and that was one thing I put into her. With Vane, I put and you see more of this in book 2, but like my anxiety, I put that into him. Also his tendency to like maximize and need things to be like efficient. But his is to an extreme that I do not have.
Understandable.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
What did you have to research anything that sent you down a rabbit hole?
For this book, nothing is coming to mind. But for book 2, I have had to go down so many rabbit holes about pirate ships. I know nothing about boats.
I'm going to be a boat master by the end of this book.
I actually understand that, because like once you're out, if you ever like write as a character's going out to sea, it's like that's a completely like what's going on out there.
Yeah, so. And also like the laws of thermodynamics. Chemistry. I'm just book 1. I have pulled, or not book 1. Draft 1 is me pulling everything out of my ass. And then book 2, or like the later drafts, are going to be me consulting experts to make sure I got
understandable.
it right.
Get the idea out, and then we'll refine it.
Yeah.
Okay. To preface new readers, people that might be interested, can you tell us one rule about the magic in your world that kind of sets your book apart, or that you think is a unique feature of your world?
Ooh. It is a hard magic system, so there are like specific rules. One feature though that I think sets my world apart is that the magic has gone extinct. So even though I have this whole developed magic system, its defining feature in book 1 is that it's not usable. And because of that, there are ramifications. Technology is failing and going obsolete because it relies on the magic.
Okay, and the last thing in this section is, how can readers connect with you? So this is where you can list how people can find you on social media, website, how can people buy your book, what's the best way to support?
And we will link everything down below for like anything you say. So
okay, well, let me go down the list.
Yeah.
My website is kcwoodruff.com, KC, the letters, woodruff.com. And you can buy signed copies there that come with art prints and bookmarks, stickers, stuff like that. It is on Kindle Unlimited. The ebook is Amazon exclusive, but physical copies you can buy at any retailer in hardcover or paperback. Amazon discounted it for the entire month of December. The ebook.
Christmas present.
So it is
still have time.
It is half off. for the entire month of December if you want to take advantage of that.
You should.
Thank you, Amazon.
Okay.
The only time you will ever hear me say that.
Thank you, Amazon. Okay, so yes, I just want to say, one of my top reads of the year. I'm so excited, and I want you to read this book. Yes. Okay, so we're going to end the part 1 now, and stay tuned. Watch part 2 if you have read the book and you want to dive in and you need some therapy. She's here to give us therapy
Yeah.
for the book, okay?